What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Happy December 11th to all of you. Happy Wednesday morning. Thank you for watching Sportsbook Review. This is Betting with the Bag. Big morning show today. In 14 minutes, we're going to be joined by Junior Browne to break down these 11 NBA games, 3 games in NHL. We're coming off a nice night in NHL. It was a good winning night, no doubt, but I did hurt it a little bit by taking the night's first period. You know, the Knights cap, the Kings cap, to me, from psychological angles, that's as easy as it gets. Marc-Andre Fleury coming back after the death of his father. His team's going to play for them, especially after a 5-0 loss. Then you have the youngest team in the National Hockey League beating Vegas 5-0 and then going to LA. You think they're going to be focused playing against... I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I expect the Kings are the oldest team in the NHL. If not, I can't imagine a team being older than those fucking bums. Of course, Kings win puck line. I was on the -1. Vegas wins puck line. And I heard it a little bit with the Knights' first period. Wild hurt me, but the under 6.5 was too easy in the Habs game. As soon as and making the bet that Yari was going to be in goal when it was at 6.5. Yari gets announced, it goes down to 6. It just feels really good. It feels really sharp. The Wild, hey, can't all be glorious. Stayed off of NBA, but the Hornets, I should have taken the Hornets earlier, and I know a bunch of you guys did, and great work there. And those of you who jumped on the Habs, Rod Zawacki, Mohamed Joma, great job on the Habs. And I'm pumped. You know, nice little... winning night for us, getting us back to where we belong. Shout out to all the cappers in the chat. Moses Saucedo in the house since 5 a.m. Pacific time. Wait all morning for Betting with the Bag. Oh, Moses Saucedo. I love it. There's Dave Berkey in the house. His catch on Vegas last night. Thank you goes to Fleury's dad. Well, see, he's a stand-up comedian. So obviously he's going to be sharp. So he's thanking the ghost of Fleury's dad. AM in the house. AM, I don't know how. I still haven't. I tried to find you on Twitter and I couldn't find you at this point, but I'm going to follow you as soon as possible. Barbecue sauce. Titty play of the day. UEFA Champions League. Shakhtar Donetsk. Moneyline plus 170. Tommy Wager. And shout out also to our Matt Randall. McNeese State. Easy casher. Taint play of the day. Casher. Tommy Wager hammered Indiana -2.5, -3 versus UConn live like crazy last night. Sweat till that clock showed 0. Yes, I did... UConn money line did not work for me. There's Nilo in the house. Carlos Peroge says, how bad are the New Jersey Devils? It's strange because you look at their roster and you're like, these are some nice pieces. Silver Malco, Deer Slayer Ski. There's Top Set in the house. As NBA Live has been very, very good to me. Tommy Wager says, I was hoping they would have scored a little more to catch that second half total. Going back to Moses Saucedo. Dave Burke says, currently examining an interesting look. Take the under on Star Wars nights. Star Wars fans are low energy and the players are distracted by lightsabers. All right. Slugger Card for Life says, thank God for the live and second half unders to bail out all those pre-tip-off games. Bets. Matt Randall, great day yesterday. Official place 5-1-1. Matt Randall, Jared LeMay got up early. Got in early on that Celtics Pacers game. Celtics +1. I knew they had the wrong team favorite. Great job. I can't wait to have Junior Browne here. We have 3 NHL games that we have to cap before then. 11 minutes still before Junior Browne, so I don't need to talk too fast and start panicking. Steve Overlay in the house. Omar J. Legend. 14 parlay winner, Omar J. Legend. Yes. Great job. There's Deer Slayer Ski in the house. Paul Costa says, morning, guys, bless up. Ready to get to work. Top Set tailed Vegas. That was too easy. There's Richie Rich. Great call, Carolina. Yeah, and then shout out to our guy, Jin Rummy, who was on Carolina too. The better team. Clearly the better team. And I don't know why I held off there. There's Mr. Gokester, Casey Benjis, Gerald Jones, Jamal Stones. Jamal Stones says, what happened with last night with Max? You know, look, it's the ebbs and flows, and we all have been there. And so he's coming off a losing night. I expect him to attack this card with great vengeance. This one, there's Rod Zawacki. Great job, Rod Zawacki. He was on both the Habs and the under. Great job, Rod Zawacki. Emmanuel Dula ready to get to work. Noli knows that the system is gold again. That under was gorgeous. And I wouldn't have taken the under until Noli came in and said dead under. 2 words. That's all I need to hear. 2 words. I rush to the window. Mark Unkefer. Thank you, Sarah. Mark Unkefer in the house, ready to go. 23 Panks says, how did the Wild lose that game? They were outshot 10-1 out of the gate. How does Gabby let that happen? You lose 6-2, and you don't have those guys fired up? I know you're not allowed to kick hockey players anymore, but thanks to Mark Crawford. But it just seemed like I would be screaming in their faces before they got on the ice. They better be ready to go. Should have seen the shit. If I was lollygagging in warm-ups, my dad from the side would scream, just fucking yell at me, with his fist out like this, making sure I wasn't gonna, lollygag like a little bitch out there tonight. Von Polo, Vegas -1.5 was too easy. It certainly was. Chip Plylar in the house says J Money's crew demolishing it too. We're going to have Junior Browne. There's Ed 215. Tease in the house, ready to get to work. Vaughn Burgess, David Chimilio. Jaspers. Nice to see Jaspers. We haven't seen Jaspers in too long. Beach Boss. Bruins versus Capitals. Man, shit, it's tough. It's a tough spot. I'm looking forward to hear what you guys have to say. Richie Rich smashed LA in Vegas. I knew you would, Richie Rich. I knew you would. That was just, those are the kind of angles that we eat up. And we've been doing it. You've been doing it longer than me, but 3 years we've been doing it together. Richie Rich, shout out to my guy, Richie Rich. Dan Kelly says, can we see the record? Yes, and it's not, it's better. It's better. But you know what? What's happened so far in this NHL season is I haven't got hot yet. And you wait till I do get hot. Roman Pedal said, so happy to jump on that Las Vegas game last night. They played with heavy hearts. Heavy hearts and light sticks, man. Yeah. Noah Verkamp, ready to go, said, who else took Maryland and Louisville? Yeah, that was not good in that spot. Paul Costa laughing at Trae Young, saying it's over. And Gerald LeMay woke up pleasantly surprised. Don't mess with the Heat in overtime. Moses Saucedo says, I'm glad play I gave out hit Northern Iowa first half. Great job, Moses Saucedo. Astute Chaos top set. Brant Hunt in the house. Moses Saucedo going to get himself a McDouble to celebrate the McNeese State. All right, let's get after it. Let's get to work. There's Nasty Nate right now. So last night I burnt chicken tenders and flushed my money down the toilet. Oh, no. Okay, Nasty Nate, we'll get it back. Although, we're going to do it with Junior Browne and... Junior Browne and I are going to break down this big NBA card, and we're going to have Dan Kelly and all these great NBA cappers like Brant Hunt rolling with us. Tori Coker ready to get to work. Rye Cape says Papa Sweezy demands perfection. He demands me to fight, and I had to, because I'm not a big dude, and I had to get up faster than I went down. That was the most important thing. That was the most important thing on ice with me. If I didn't get up faster than I went down, there was a problem. That was the most important thing. Dan Kelly said, Jimmy about to go a plus 20 unit run in NHL before New Year. Feeling it. I loved capping that card. And I guess this card is a little trickier. Why don't we get after it right now? There's Ryan Kozlowski in the house. Make America Great Again joining us. Rico Money, Joe, Rich, Viper, NB, Anthony, Christopher. Let's get to work right now. Let's start with that NHL record. It looks a little better. The Vegas first period brought it back. Larry's on the ones and twos here. Rafa's going to be coming in a little bit. Larry, could you put up the NHL record for me, my friend? And take a little look at it. So, all right, plus 3.48, moving in the right direction. Let's get after it. Okay, let's get after it. We are going to start with this Bruins Capitals spot. And, okay, so at first I was like, man, you're going to give me the Capitals at minus 115. That's what it opened at yesterday. Then it went to minus 120. I'm like, man, this is so nice. And then this morning I was like, okay, pull the trigger on the Capitals. It was up to minus 130. Now it's back to minus 120. In all honesty, I sit and I look at this game and I think, just watch it. Both these guys are angry. SoCal Resellers has asked Junior Browne if you got Wendy's Spicy Nuggets last night. Sure, SoCal Resellers. Sure. And Nasty Nate says, Papa Pete Loshak gave me 2 second-half college basketball winners. Yeah, Papa Pete Loshak made a return to YouTube, a triumphant return to YouTube last night amongst the cheers and of all of us. So that was great news. Stooge says, I am Datfire TV listening to the show at work. Much love to our guy, Datfire TV. Ben Sports 24/7. All right, let's get after it right now. So it says Halak. Halak's been better than Tuukka Rask, but you got to get Tuukka Rask right. You play against the best. So the Capitals number 1 team in the league, Bruins number 2 team in the league. You put Tuukka Rask in there. So although it said Halak when I woke up this morning, I do not expect that. I expect Tuukka Rask to be in net. Braden Holtby on the other end, having an okay year, 909 save percentage. Bruins, 3.45 goals a game. Capitals, 3.56 goals a game. Bruins, 28% power play. Capitals, 23.7% power play. Bruins, 84.9% penalty killing. Capitals, 84.7% penalty killing. That's how you win in the NHL. Rico Money buying up to 6.5 for the total at this point to go under 6.5. I wonder what that would cost you. Let's just see what that would cost me very quickly if I wanted to do that. Okay, we're going to see. So if I wanted to buy up to 6.5, minus 130. I'm not going to do that, but that's better than I thought it would look there, and that's minus 130 bet 365. You can line shop and get better. Shout out to Jeff Joseph, says Jimmy looks being so sharp. Well, thank you. I don't know about so sharp, but we're moving in the right direction. Says cash with Knights and Kings. Also Boston College. Shout out to all low baggers for buying into what happens here. So awesome. Yeah, Jeff Joseph, much love. There's Shelby Richards. How about them Temple Owls? Wow, Temple took care of business. Mr. Ghoster said might be hell actually. Look, you can't do that. You can't let Tuukka Rask not think he's the guy. I hear you, Mr. Ghoster, but Cassidy's not going to make that kind of mistake. Unless Halak's going to be the number one goaltender moving forward, which he's not. Number one team in the NHL, 49 points with the Caps. Boston right behind, 116. Caps first with 117 goals scored. Bruins second with 107. Bruins lead the league with goal differential. The issue is they're both coming off 5-2 losses. The bigger issue is the Bruins aren't playing well. The Capitals just weren't ready, and we were on the Jackets first period. Jackets outshot them 20-6 because Capitals were coming back from that 3-game Western road. Was a 4-game road, so we started in Detroit, but 3 games in California, they swept it all. Richie Rich's last 3, Boston, Washington went under head-to-head. 1 push at 6, other 2 went way under. Under 6 is a good angle. I mean, I don't dislike it. It's just going to be very, very, very interesting. And Prince of the City says, I told you to take Temple last night and fade my college roommate. Okay, so Boston loses at Ottawa 5-2. Embarrassing on Monday night. Embarrassing. They'd beaten Ottawa in 10 straight games. They had won 8 in a row before this 0-2-1 run. These teams both get number 1 centers back in Backstrom and Bergeron. Look, let's move on to the next game. At this point, if I can get the Capitals minus 120, I feel like there's value there. And I can at 5 dimes, and it's minus 125. I do. I think that the Capitals at home, there's value there. And Bergeron just working his way back in. But I'm not going to say you're hum and haw because we are being joined by Junior Brown very shortly. Senators, Canadiens. Canadiens open up at minus 198. Huge move towards the Senators. And this total didn't come up for a long time. We were waiting for this total to come up. It's now up. Open at minus 190, now minus 167. I couldn't make that bet when I was capping these games in the morning. But Rod's wacky liking Capitals money line and the over. Richie Rich says I expect a very physical, chippy game. Rico money liking the under 6.5 in the Senators game. I get that. Caden Primo looked good. I wonder if he steps up here. Canadian 75.8% penalty killing, trash, but it has improved. They've killed 16 of their last 17 opportunities. After an 8-game losing streak, the Habs appear back on track. They're on the second half of a back-to-back impressive win 4-1 last night. So Caden Primo getting a second career start. The Senators is the spot that I would look. I don't know if I can trust Caden Primo quite yet. And if the Habs get behind, they're going to open it up. And the Habs are in trouble right now. Kotkaniemi, concussion, Matthew Pekka, lower body injury. And that happened last night. Got tangled up with Malkin. Gallagher rolling right now. Senators are 1-2-3. Senators are playing good hockey. And Anthony Duclair stepping up. And that makes me happy. It makes me happy. I mean, we watched him put up 50 with the Quebec Ramparts in junior, and then he had that great rookie year alongside Max Domi in Arizona, and then he fell off, and he plays bigger than he is. He's 5'11", but he plays big. And DJ Smith says he's the fastest player on the team. He's rolling on that first line right now with Tierney and Nemesnikov, and I'm happy to see it. I'm happy for the kid. Anders Nilsson snapped a 4-game losing streak by looking very good against the Bruins, but I don't trust him. He's very, very streaky. I do not trust Nilsson. There's a reason why Vancouver shipped him out. And then, if you got that opening line for the Senators, that makes sense. At this point, I don't know if I want to pull the trigger. And then we have Flyers Avalanche, and I want to badly bet the Flyers. But again, you need to be rewarded, and taking the Flyers without Konechny does make me a little uncomfortable. I expect money to come in on the Avalanche, and then I may pull the trigger on the Flyers. You have to fade these teams. So why did we take Calgary to beat the Avalanche? Now, I went for a giant score. I went for the -1 score, and the puck line was plus 400, and they won 5-4, so it was just a push. But this is the best thing that we've done for the last 3 years in the NHL is when a team's missing 2 of their top 4 defensemen, we fade them. And Eric Johnson and Cale Makar are out of the lineup. And then you have Grubauer coming back. You know what? Justin Grammer says in your Jimmy, are the Yotes built for a playoff run? They've been a huge cash for me this year. Yes, Justin Grammer, because the Western Conference is trash. The Eastern Conference is so much better than the Western Conference. It's like what was going on in the NBA opposite, a couple years ago, where the Western Conference was so much better than the East. That's what's happening in the NHL right now. I want to take the Flyers bad, but I think that more money's... You know what? They're going to announce Cale Makar's out. So let's just... I know I'm so excited to break down this card with Junior Browne, and he's ready to go. I just want to take one look at these lines without connecting on it before I pull the trigger on the Philadelphia Flyers. There's not going to be many opportunities to fade the Avalanche. Right now, they're the favorite in the Western Conference to reach the Stanley Cup final. So we have Morgan Frost centering with Pitlick and Giroux. Lindblom with Couturier and Voracek. Frabby with Hayes and Loughton. Van Riemsdyk on the fourth line with Vorobiev and Stewart. Richie Rich says, Philly, I love. Princess City says, fade Philly. I just don't. I'm going to dive deeper into what these lines are doing because you don't have connecting. It can't be Frost center. You got to put Giroux, Couturier on the same line here. You've got to load up. Rico Money like in the under. Okay, so I'm going to need more time, but I expect to make a move on the Philadelphia Flyers today. I have some interest on the Senators, but they feel so good about themselves. I'd much rather them be angry and trying to break out of something instead of feeling good. Repula Gaming says fade Philly. All right, I'm going to need more time on this small card, and we've been destroying giant cards, and I've been having a little bit more difficulty with smaller cards because I want to have action, and I've got to stop from doing that. Rod Zawacki liking the Avs Flyers over. I'm telling you, the defense looks bad without Johnson, and the power play looks bad without Cale Makar. So we'll do more work on it. T says sends first period, book it. I think that's a very interesting look. Richie Rich says Colorado not worth that high line. More money's going to come in on Colorado. I expect to get a better look. Slats 45 says connecting out, Kadri back in, going with Avs in regulation. I want the Phillies here, but I'm going to need to take some time. Mr. Ghost says I like the Sens better than the Flyers, buddy. I certainly need more time on this card. Let's move on to NBA and bring in... Oh, wait, just quickly, we have Matt Randall's Taint play of the day in. Michigan had to pick them. Other plays, Houston minus 12.5 and UM ill over 142.5. Lock that in right now. Taint, a big winner last night. And let's get to work right this minute. Let's introduce and welcome to the show Junior Browne, star of Jammin' with J Money. Love capping NBA cards with him, and we have a giant one today. Welcome to the show, Junior Browne. How are you doing this morning?
So, Jimmy, good to be here, man. 2-2 day yesterday, so looking to get back to this money this morning, man. How about yourself?
I'm excited. I'm excited. I feel quite good with NBA. The record is not anything to be that proud of. Larry, I mean, it's okay. Larry, can you put up the record right now? 38-32, in an okay spot. In a fine spot. But I want more, and I expect more. And you know what game we have to start with, Junior Browne. Kawhi getting his NBA championship ring tonight. I have a live show tonight, so I'm going to be doing the Pick Six show with the boss and the sauce. I've already locked in. I love this NFL card, by the way. I've locked in 11 bets. I've invested $2,200 in this NFL card so far, and that was just like, there was plays I could have added that I didn't, but I locked in 11 bets, and I can't wait to work with the boss and the sauce tonight. That's at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I will not be watching this. I will not have the goosebumps, and I will not be watching this live. I will go back when I get home. I'm going to start the game from the beginning just to see it all bang out. But this is what we've all been waiting for. Let's move over to the best odds page in the business here, sportsbookreview.com odds page. Let's pull up NBA spreads and totals and move to this giant spot, Clippers, Toronto. Clippers open up at -2 now, -2.5. This total's gone up to 22.5 from 220. And let's talk about this. Clippers moving at a very fast pace. Last five first in the league. 106.5 possessions a game. Raptors pace last five, ninth at 101.9. Both really nice over year-long numbers. Clippers 115.1 points per game, 108.3 against, and getting 23.2 assists of distribution. Raptors 111.7 points per game, 105.3 against, getting 25.3 assists a game. Both teams coming off road victories. The Clippers was resounding and beautiful without Kawhi. 110-199 against the Pacers. Raptors squeak past the Bulls. Leonard ready to get back to business here. George blew up 36 points, as he does when you poke a tiger. Get ready to get knocked in the face. Clippers are in the middle of a 6-game road trip. Won twice since losing to the Bucks badly. Leonard's missed 7 games this season, but he's looked very good when he's been in the lineup. Out for the Clippers, JaMychal Green, bruised tailbone. Landry Shamet, sprained ankle. Rodney McGruder, strained hamstring. Do we know if Van Fleet will be back in action for these Raptors? When we played the Clippers early in the year, do we draw comparisons to that game? Let's start there. Do we draw comparisons? Do we look at that first meeting between the Clippers and Raptors, or do you think we put a line through it? This is a different, fresh group of circumstances, Junior?
I definitely am not considering that first game for a couple of different reasons. It was pretty sure it was the second night of a back-to-back where they played the Lakers the day before, so that has to be taken into consideration. And they didn't have Paul George. They look like a completely different team with their 2 superstars out there. Personally, I'm staying away from this game. I think that the emotion in the building is going to be over the top. And if people don't understand that Kawhi's presence in Toronto was like a meteor. You know what I'm saying? It was so much in such a small amount of time that I'm not really even sure how people in Toronto feel about Kawhi. I hope he doesn't get booed. I doubt he'll get booed. I think that the only people that will really boo Kawhi are people that just don't understand basketball, because if you're just being realistic, he's made it clear for a couple of years, ever since he was still in San Antonio, that he wanted to be Los Angeles. He didn't choose to go to Toronto. He was traded there. He made the best of his situation, and he went where he wants to be. All of that being said, it's not just the emotional angle that I don't like. It's that Toronto doesn't look good since Kyle Lowry came back and Serge Ibaka. And I know that it's really easy to just simply blame it on Kyle Lowry, but the truth of the matter is his presence in the lineup has thrown his teammates' game off a little bit. If they don't have Fred VanVleet, that's even more of a reason to stay away from this game. I do think, though, that this under is worth a look. The way that the Clippers ran up and down against the Pacers the other day, I think they're going to bring that same energy tonight, this time with Kawhi and Paul George. And their bench mob is no joke. I'm actually kind of worried about the Raptors right now, because the Raptors have a bit of a tough stretch here, and they haven't looked good for a solid 2 weeks now. So if I did touch it, I would be leaning towards the over 221.5, because the Raptors defense doesn't look the same. But in terms of the side, I just can't call it right now.
It's a very, very exciting basketball game. After watching what Paul George did to Indiana, Kawhi. First off, Kawhi gets a standing O, giant standing O. If there's
he has to
30 or 40 boos, those are just guys who, that there are going to be 30 or 40 boos in all those situations. So they're just drunken assholes who don't know anything about basketball. They're just trying
Jimmy,
to start
if
something.
they were in Montreal, he'd get booed by 20,000 people. Toronto's just different. People in Toronto are a little bit more civilized. And I grew up in Montreal, moved to Toronto in high school, and I'll tell you right now, if that was Montreal, he's getting booed for sure.
Well, the Vancouver, where I grew up, they gave him love. They gave him a ton of love, and he deserves it. He's a great guy, and the issue was he'd be the perfect Canadian hero, because he's soft-spoken and thoughtful and kind, and he's just everything that we try to pretend that we are in Canada. So much love to Kawhi Leonard. Thank you for giving us the year of our lives. And he'll get a giant standing ovation when he gets his NBA championship ring, which he richly deserves. If I was going to make a bet here, I'd make a bet on the Clippers. What do you think of that?
I agree with you. I would not take the Raptors in this situation. I just think that, first of all, let's just be clear. The Clippers have no reason to be emotional in this game. And that includes Kawhi Leonard. He's basically a cyborg. Does he even feel emotion? We're not even 100% sure about that. The Raptors are going to be the emotional ones in this game, and that could spur them to victory. But I'm just basing on how they look in their last 5 games. They barely beat a really bad Chicago team, and they just haven't looked good to me for at least a good 2 weeks now. And I don't want to just I don't want to just be blind and say, oh, the Raptors are going to win because it's a big night. No, they're not playing well, and the Clippers are one of the 3 best teams in the entire NBA. If anything, this price of -2.5 is pretty cheap considering the way the Clippers look right now.
I'm pulling the trigger. I'm taking the Los Angeles Clippers -2.5 at -105. That's available at both Heritage and 5 Dimes. Clippers -2.5 at -105. Simply put, they're a much better basketball team than the Toronto Raptors. And maybe much is not the right word. Maybe it's not but they're an unbelievably good basketball team. And it's going to be a madhouse in Toronto. The Raptors are going to be all emotional. And Kawhi, you think Kawhi just wants that ring and then he wants to get to work. So I'm on the Clippers -2.5 at -105. And if Van Fleet's hurting, and look, I love Kyle Lowry, and I love him calling that meeting in the third quarter against the Bulls. Jansen says, is Van Fleet playing? We don't know yet. But I'm on the Clippers -2.5. All right, there we go. Now let's talk about the 21-3 Los Angeles Lakers, 11-1 on the road. That only road loss to the aforementioned Clippers. Pace last 5, 6th in the NBA. Magic pace last 5, 19th in the NBA. And Lakers looking to extend their road winning streak to 12 games. Club record 16 by 71-72 Lakers. Lakers are also well rested, coming off that 142-125 win at home over the Timberwolves, where Davis went for 50 points. That was on Sunday evening. Davis has 89 points in the last 2 games. NBA Western Conference Player of the Week. Magic saw their season-high 4-game winning streak halted at 110-101 at Milwaukee, but they came on in the second half. They didn't look good in the first half, came off. Terrence Ross, an enigma, is stepping up right now, and you can almost watch the date to see when that's going to end, but it's going right now. Evan Fournier playing well too, so Ross and Fournier hitting their shots. The thing is that with the Lakers on this road winning streak, they're going to be sharp. If they were 9-3 on the road, I'd be like, Lakers don't care that much about this game. But they want to keep winning on the road to prove people wrong. Lakers open up at -5.5. They're now at -8, 8.5 at Bovada, 7.5 at Pinnacle. What do you think of this spot? Lakers Magic, are you making a move?
Yeah, it's actually one of my official plays. I've got the Lakers -7 in this spot. I took it. It was the first play that I made very early this morning. 2 specific reasons I'm on the Lakers in this spot. Number one, every time the Magic, I'm going to give you the Magic versus top 10 defenses this year, okay? Their scores. Against the Raptors, 95 points. Milwaukee, 91 points. Against the Pacers, 102, which is the only time they've cracked 102 against a top 10 defense, by the way. Raptors again, 97. You get the point. They do not play well against defenses that put up resistance. They don't score well against anybody in the first place. Now, the Lakers lately have been an offensive juggernaut, but since this first game of the season, they've actually, made their run here by playing elite defense. And even though their offense has taken a big uptake, their defense has not let up. So if you're telling me that the Magic are going to probably score somewhere between 95 and 100 points, do I think that the Lakers can score 107? You could guarantee that. They're not scoring less than 110. The other thing is the Lakers play a really quirky lineup where they start JaVale McGee and Anthony Davis, which makes them probably the biggest team in the NBA with that lineup, considering LeBron James as their point guard. But then when they take Anthony Davis out, they usually take McGee out with him, play Dwight at the 5, and basically LeBron plays a small ball 4. That is bad news for the Orlando Magic. I don't see how they match up with these guys whatsoever. I just think it's a bad spot, especially like you just mentioned, the Lakers coming off of 2 days rest, and they're 14-1 in their last 15 games. I'm not getting in front of that train, so I'm trying to hop on this wave while it's there to be had.
Do you find our guy Beach Boss on Lakers first quarter, first half, whole game, do you think that there could be a similar situation as what happened with Orlando and Milwaukee, where Milwaukee showed their dominance in the first half and then Orlando clawed back enough to cover? Because this kind of feels like a similar spot. Is Lakers -4 first half a look?
Definitely a look. I'm just a little bit nervous with taking the Orlando kind of is a little bit frisky in first halves, and I think that the Milwaukee game is actually here's the thing with Milwaukee. Every single one of their games kind of goes the same way. They either punch you in the mouth in the first half, and if they don't cover in the first half, which is pretty rare, I don't have their ATS first half record in front of me, then they definitely knock one of your teeth out in the third quarter. The point is, the fourth quarter, the Bucks tend to kind of play their bench mob, so to speak, because that's what they've been calling these guys, their bench mob. And their bench mob, if you just look at them player for player, they're pretty average players. So I just think that in every game, they're up by so many points that they play these very average lineups in the fourth quarter that allows teams to claw back into it. But the Lakers are all business. Like personally, about a week or two ago, when they were going into that stretch of play where they played Denver and Utah back to back, I thought that the wheels are going to come off for the Lakers because they hadn't really beaten anybody before that. Now, we know Utah is definitely not as good as we thought they were, but just the way the Lakers have looked, I mean, in the last three games, they put up 121, 136, and 142. Yikes. I'm not trying to get in front of that.
I hear that. I absolutely hear that. And I'm having a difficult time figuring out the pace of this team. It seems to change dramatically. And now they're putting up a ton of points. Moses Saucedo like in the under. Also Rico Money like in the under. What do you think of this total? Is this something, if you had a free play on the total right now, where would you go?
If you're asking me where would I go, I would lean towards the under because I think that Orlando, as the home team, is going to try and keep this pace as slow as possible. The other reason I lean towards the under is because I firmly believe that Orlando is not going to score 100 points in this game. I really don't think that they get to 100. I think that if you just look at what they do best, like you mentioned Evan Fournier, you mentioned Terrence Ross. Are they really about to go off against this Lakers team? I don't know. I mean, they could because they're at home, which is why I don't like the first half. Orlando has been frisky in some of these first half plays, but I would lean towards the under because I think that the Lakers shut these guys down and then cruise to victory, which does make me nervous about the -7. But at the end of the day, I really think that this could be one of these like 120 to like 95 type games. Like I just don't think that the Magic have what it takes to slow down the Lakers roster as presently constructed. Although I will say I have to give a shout out to Jonathan Isaac. I think Jonathan Isaac is one of the most underrated defenders in the NBA, and I'm very, very interested to see how he does against LeBron James because who else can they match up with LeBron? But other than that, if you're asking me over-under, I would lean towards the under.
A lean towards the under. Also, our guy Lamont Williams, max bet is in Dartmouth, solo over. Cove Coleone in the house. Top set says take Magic team total under 102.5. That's what it is at my book as well, 102.5. I have not pulled the trigger on anything in this Lakers game, but I find quite a bit appealing. Let's keep rolling, though. We don't have time for me to just hum and haw on certain spots. All right, those are the couple of the marquee games. Let's talk about these trash Cavs quick. God, I have this vividness bias that's just messing with me with the Cavs. I've been very successful last 2 years with Cavs first quarters, and the Cavs are just a train wreck right now, and Bailing better get his shit together and figure something out immediately. Oh, sorry, that under 225 was total goals was for NHL. Was Champions League today, not NHL. Oh, sorry, Rico, I thought you were talking NHL too. Champions League, okay, sorry. David Chamelio saying sharps on the Lakers. Okay, let's move on to this Cavs game. Ugly. Houston opens up at -10.5, now -11.5. The total opens up at 228, now 228.5 or 229. The Rockets did not play well and let the Kings stay ahead of them, and then Belichick beats them with that 33-footer that was spectacular. Cavs have lost 7 straight, 13 of 14. They just got destroyed, 110-88 to Boston, 28th in offensive rating, 29th in defensive rating, last in net rating. They're just a bad basketball team. Rockets pace last 5 second, Cavaliers pace last 5 26th. Rockets, Cavaliers, is there any move that you can make and trust in this spot?
Yeah, I'll be very, very quick. The Rockets are one of my least favorite teams in the NBA, not just as a fan, but even as a capper. They're what are they? I think they're 11 and 12 ATS. And it's their attitude. In most of those games where they didn't cover, if you go and just look at the play-by-play, you will find a spot where they were probably up 10, 15 points, and they just piss away leads. And the reason I think that happens to them, and again, I try not to let my own bias affect my capping, but I strongly believe that in terms of superstars, not just any player now, right? So we're just talking superstars, which is a very select group of players. James Harden, but especially Russell Westbrook, have two of the lowest basketball IQs that I've ever seen. They do not make winning plays. They make me plays. And I think that affects the spread because those are the two guys that are taking like 70% of the shots and are making 90% of all decisions. I don't like anything about them. And after saying all that, you're absolutely right. The Cavs are a dumpster fire. I think Jim Boeheim is a dead man walking in terms of job security. Listen, if you hire a guy at 66 years old to coach in the NBA for the first time, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong. And from what I've heard, that he's basically treating his team like a bunch of college guys, but they got some serious vets on the team. You're not going to treat guys who make significantly more money than you and have more job security than you like kids, and it's blowing up in his face right now. So I'm not really surprised. I will not lay this many points with the Houston Rockets on the road. There's no chance.
Yeah, it's an ugly, ugly basketball game. Let's move on to a very exciting one. Celtics, Pacers. Pacers open up at -1, and it's flipped. Boston now -1. This total opened up at 209.5. You can still get it at 209.5, but it is at 210 at Pinnacle, a leading indicator book. Celtics pace last 5, 25th. Pacers pace last 5, 20th in the NBA. Celtics have won 4 straight. They've won 6 of 7. Each of the past 3 have come by big, big scores. Coming off 110-88 beatdown of the Cavs on Monday, Kemba, Tatum, Jalen, all averaging over 20 points a game. Hayward returns, puts up 14, 7 to 10 shooting in 26. Marcus Smart is listed as questionable, but they expect him to be back in the lineup after that eye infection. Pacers coming off that disappointing 110-99 loss to the Clippers without Kawhi. Sabonis eating, Miles Turner protecting the rim, 2.4 blocks a game, and Malcolm Brogdon playing very, very well. This is an exciting one. Take it away, Pacers, Celtics.
Yeah, it's another one of my official plays. I've got the under 210.5 for a couple of reasons. I think that something that you just mentioned, the reason why the Pacers were disappointing against the Clippers is because the Clippers really sped up that game. That game was played at a pace of about 104.5. That is not Pacers basketball. Now, luckily for them, Boston plays at an even slower pace than they do, so that shouldn't be an issue today. Another reason I like the under is that Boston plays much better road defense than they do home defense, even though they play at a much faster pace on the road than they do at home. It's one of those weird stats, but it also shows me that they've been so inconsistent with their offense on the road that Brad Stevens has obviously put it into these guys' head. Listen, as a team, we're going to do it with defense, and the fact that our ball movement and that we don't rely on one guy is going to get us over the line on most nights, but especially on the road, because the reality is the Celtics are a little bit better than 500 on the road. They're 7-5 on the road. Their offense does not play well there, but their defense is always something you can count on. So now you got two teams that are top 5 in defense going up against each other that want to play at a slow down pace. I think that 210.5 is a little bit too much. I'm leaning towards the under in this game.
That makes sense. It's interesting to see Pinnacle move it up. I wonder if we could get a better line. Yenny Toon, I missed your plays. If you want to hit us back in the chat, I'd love to take a look at them. But And Matt Randall says, keep an eye on Triple K Marine for Vegas Gun Award, Michigan -6.5. And interesting. And Rob Stevenson, thank you for joining us. Okay, I will copy and paste a couple things here. I'm interested in the under as well. But seeing Pinnacle go up to 210, I imagine the other books will follow suit. I'm going to leave the under as a lean, and you are making a move on the Celtics, is that right?
No, I'm taking the under 210.5. I'm not taking the Celtics because, like I said, they've been inconsistent on the road, and the Pacers have been a much better team over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I think that losing to the Clippers there's no shame in that. Obviously, they would be disappointed to lose to them without Kawhi Leonard. But the truth of the matter is, even without the Kawhi Leonard, the Clippers are a much better team. And there's also one thing that was happening in that game, and it's something that everyone should look out for. If Miles Turner comes up against a physically dominant front court player, he's basically a little bitch. Andre Drummond completely owns him. Montrezl Harrell went to work on him. He's a very good help side defender, but one-on-one defense against other physically dominant guys, he wants no parts of that. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that. The Celtics have no physically dominant front court players. Tatum's a front court player, but he's a skill player. Jaylen Brown's a skill player. Their front court players are skill guys. So I just think that defense is going to be the name of the game in this one.
I agree with you. I like this breakdown quite a bit. And great job getting the 210.5. It has come down to 210. So I was wrong with that indicating moving it up because it's actually on the way down. So that was my mistake. I'm jumping in. Under 210, minus 102. Celtics, Pacers, under 210. And as we see, Dan Kelly on the Celtics, minus 1. All right, let's move on to Hornets, Nets. Hornets on the second half of a back-to-back. I wish I had pulled the trigger on the Hornets early. I wanted to. Not entirely sure why I didn't pull the trigger there. Total opened up at 218, now at 217. Brooklyn opened up at -9, now -9.5. And this certainly doesn't help. All teams are better without Kyrie argument. Nets 9-3 without Kyrie. Hornets pace being very slow. Last 5, 28th in the NBA. Nets last 5, 18th pace. Kyrie, look at this. They get rid of him. So... Not get rid of him, he's hurt. But during the first 11 games, the Nets allow 119.5 points, fourth highest in the league. Since he's been out, now they average 106.8. They allow 106.8, 10th best scoring defense. They've allowed less than 110 in 8 of their last 10 games. They beat the Nuggets 105-102. They're playing for each other. They're playing good basketball. They out-rebound the Nuggets badly. They destroy them in the paint, 66-22. Dinwiddie is playing like the man. And 2 of Brooklyn wins have already come against the Hornets without Kyrie. Jared Allen dominates when he plays against this squad. Charlotte on the second half of a back-to-back. Devontae Graham woke up, but I don't know if I want the Nets at -9.5. Take it away, Junior Brown. Hornets, Nets.
I'll be very quick. I mean, listen, you'd have to be crazy to take Brooklyn -9.5 here because the Charlotte Hornets have shown that if they're knocking down the 3, they can hang around with anybody. Brooklyn has looked better without Kyrie, obviously, but that's down to their defense. It's also down to the fact that because here's what I think is a little misleading about that Kyrie argument. If you watch how the Nets play, is Spencer Dinwiddie less of a hog than Kyrie? I don't think he is. Spencer Dinwiddie is so ball dominant for them. I just think that the rest of their guys have finally come to play. If I don't want to get into the stats too much, but because I've been looking really deep at these Kyrie numbers, how much he holds the ball, et cetera, and I think they're a little bit exaggerated. He's never been known as a great defender, but I think they're just playing overall better team defense. Jared Allen, though, they should definitely be excited about that young guy because essentially he's looking like he could become a better version of DeAndre Jordan. I think DeAndre Jordan is one of the most overrated players of the last 10 years. I think that Jared Allen is a young guy with a huge bit of upside. But, Joe Harris is knocking down shots. Taurean Prince has come to play. Even Garrett Temple has got a pretty big usage rating for a guy of his skill set. So I say all of that to say, if I did touch the game, I would be leaning more towards the total. I would never take the Brooklyn Nets -9.5, even against the Charlotte Hornets. That 216.5, I would actually lean towards the over here. I think that the Hornets are going to come out firing and gunning. They don't ever defend, you know that. So my lean in this game would be over 216.5.
I don't see a team in the Nets. They're not a type of team that wins by double digits.
Exactly.
To me, even though the Hornets are on the second half, looks like they got to be the play. I just worry about them deteriorating in the fourth quarter, but the Hornets got to be the play. Should we pull the trigger on the Hornets at +9.5?
I'm the wrong guy to ask that question because preseason I picked the Hornets to be the worst team in the NBA. I still strongly believe that they're going to regress to at least a bottom 3 team in the league. But if you're talking about right now, it would be smarter in my opinion to take to take the points with the Hornets as opposed to laying the points with the Nets because the Nets just don't beat teams by that many points. Yeah, sure they win games, but just go back and look at their schedule. they have very few double-digit wins on their season. So it would have to be the Hornets. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but it would have to be Charlotte plus the points or nothing if I'm taking a side.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to take them because there's a 10 being hung at Heritage. Plus 10 at minus 105. I'm going to make a move here and take the Hornets plus 10 at minus 105. All right, let's keep rolling along. Up next, we have Jazz Timberwolves. Rafa, my friend, do you mind if we push Teddy back 5 minutes? So we'll call him at 55 so we can get an extra 5 minutes with JB. Jazz Timberwolves. We've already got Rayhan Hyder, great NBA capper, jump in our chat, liking the Jazz here. They open up at minus 1.5. There is 1-1 now at Bookmaker. The Jazz have been playing terrible. Lost 6 of 8. Their pace over the last 5 is quite quick, 7th at 101.7. Timberwolves pace last 5, 13th at 100.51. The Timberwolves and Wiggins are playing like the team and the guy that we remember. They're playing bad. And so are the Jazz. These are two shit teams. The Thunder beat up on the Jazz on the second half of a back-to-back. It was shocking. The Wolves have a 124.7 defensive rating in December. Shocking. They allow 142 points to the Lakers. I don't know how long Saunders is going to have his job. Jazz Timberwolves, you making a move here?
I'm not, just because of everything you just said. Well, we don't really know what's going on with these teams. I would say Saunders, being the son of former head coach Flip Saunders, rest in peace. He's going to have a little bit more leeway than a regular coach would. He's still a young guy. This is my problem with this spot right here for the Jazz. The Timberwolves have the one piece of kryptonite that seems to really affect the Jazz, and that's a stretch 5. And not only do they have a stretch 5, they have the best stretch 5 in the NBA. Karl-Anthony Towns shoots like 7 threes a game. If you can get Rudy Gobert out of the paint, this is not the Jazz team that we've become accustomed to. Their wing defenders are just not the same guys that they've had in the past. And I think we really underestimated the fact that, guys like, is Bogdanovich better than Jay Crowder? Of course he is. But Jay Crowder is a much better wing defender. Conley's not playing well. There's just nothing about this Utah team for me that makes them a bet-on team. So to me, this game is a complete stay away for the simple fact that Minnesota, for some reason, is actually better on the road than they are at home. So you don't know what you're going to get with Minnesota either. I just see no type of angle in this game whatsoever. To me, this just seems like a 50-50 contest. But that Rudy Gobert having to guard Karl-Anthony Towns, and again, I'm not talking about Rudy Gobert one-on-one versus Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm talking about Rudy Gobert standing on the three-point line on defense, leaving driving lanes for the rest of Minnesota's guys. And if you look at Minnesota's roster, they've got a bunch of 6'6" to 6'8" wing guys that can get to the basket. So I just think that that angle has me staying away from this game completely.
It makes sense to do that. And I can understand people saying situationally it makes sense to back the Jazz, but you could sort of say the same thing about the Wolves right now after, I don't know if Saunders can get their attention, but that was just a putrid defensive showing in Los Angeles, and they have to step up here or people are going to get fired or cut. Let's move to Hawks Bulls right now. Trae Young looking like a rookie last night. Saying it's over. Bulls open up at minus 4.5. Now they're at minus 5. There is a 5.5 on the board. Let's quickly see what's going on here. Total wise, it's just stuck at 222. Atlanta on the second half of a back-to-back. They lose by 14 to the Heat after being outscored 18-4 in overtime. Trae Young, 12 games this season with 30 or more points. DeAndre Hunter puts up a season-high 28 last night. God, I like that kid. Bulls have lost 3 in a row. They're coming off a 93-92 defeat against the Raptors. LaVine had a chance to win it, and Markkanen is just not the guy I thought he was going to become. He does not look very good. Hawks, Bulls, Junior Brown, take it away.
So anyone that watches Jammin' with Jay Money will know that the Bulls are another team that I can't stand, but I have to be fair. They actually look pretty decent recently. They've been putting up a much better effort both offensively and defensively. And if you just look at their last couple of games, sure that their last 3 games were losses. They had a chance to win against Toronto. They definitely should have won against the Heat. And, they should have won against the Warriors. Now, woulda, coulda, shoulda obviously is not how it works in our business. But the truth of the matter is the The Hawks are just horrible right now. The Hawks also allow 123 points per game on the road. And on top of all that, they're 0-5 in back-to-back situations. So there's nothing about this game that has me looking at the Hawks. It would be Bulls or nothing. I don't like laying points with the Bulls. But if the Bulls can't do it in this, I mean, I've been saying Jim Boylan should have been fired since the season started. If the Bulls cannot beat the Hawks in this spot, you got to get rid of this guy. Like, come on, man.
Agreed. The Bulls have to be able to take care of business here. They just have to be able to take care of business here. At 5 points, should we pull the trigger on the Bulls, or do you distrust Boylan and the group so much?
I distrust them 100%. I would, however, lean towards the first half because Chicago, the way that they've looked lately, I think that they're going to come out and put up an effort. Like if you're the Bulls and you've had 3 straight games where you know you could have won and you probably should have won, when a team comes up in front of you that you look at them and you say, we're clearly better than these guys. These guys are coming into a situation off of a back-to-back, probably had a little bit of fun in Miami. Who's going to South Beach and not having fun? And I'm pretty sure that they were in Miami for a couple of days before that game. If I was going to touch this game, -2.5 first half seems very. I mean, that's a 1 possession game. I think the Bulls can win the first half by 1 possession.
Yeah. God, I don't want to trust them either. Okay, let's move on to Grizzlies Suns. See if we can get 2 more games in the next few minutes. Grizzlies Suns. Suns open up at -8 now. 7s across the board. This total opened up at 231. There is a 230.5 on the board. Both teams pace last 5 very quick. Grizzlies pace last 5 4th in the NBA. Suns 5th in the NBA. Ja comes back and just leads by example. Selfless basketball. He's a special talent. 7 assists. 13 of his points in the fourth quarter, 5 of 6 shooting in the fourth quarter. The Warriors were daring him to hit outside daggers, so he hit them in their face. Suns are just Ricky Rubio. I remember how excited we were of him coming out of Europe, and then he just wasn't. He's just a little too slow in the NBA to really kind of dominate. But God, he's playing so well this year, and he certainly looks like a better player than Conley right now. 16 points, 14 assists in that win over Minnesota on Monday. 9th double-double. 3rd straight game with at least 13 assists. Tied for second in the league with 9.2 assists. Averaging just 1.9 turnovers. That's the best ratio among primary ball handlers. 1 turnover against Minnesota. Suns had 29 assists or more in their last 7 games. Their longest streak since Steve Nash. The Steve Nash team did it in 2007. How do we handle this spot, Grizzlies Suns?
I would actually kind of lean towards the over here. In the beginning of the season, the Suns looked like they'd turned the corner defensively. We've come to find out that that's actually not true at all. Now, in their defense, they've basically been playing the last couple of weeks without big men. Their big man rotation was thin to begin with. If anybody can tell me that they knew Aaron Baines would have started off the season as well as he did, you must be related to Aaron Baines because this is the best basketball he's ever played in his life. That being said, this is what they're relying on. They're relying on like Aaron Baines goes out and your team falls off of a cliff. That to me was a red flag right away. They haven't defended properly in quite some time. The Memphis Grizzlies with Ja Morant are, they're going to try and run up and down the court. They play at a very fast pace. So my lean in this game would be towards the over.
That makes sense. Towards the over. It's high at 230.5, but I bet you they can still get there. A lot of guys in the chat liking them to cover. God, I'm just going to leave it as a lean to the over right now. Let's see if we can quickly touch on Pelicans Bucks. Bucks have won 15 straight. They're destroying opponents. Now, they didn't destroy Orlando. You made an interesting point when we were talking about why that was in the Orlando Lakers breakdown. By the way, Vucevic is out now. That's what we've been told in the chat. Vucevic is out. So great job getting that number when you got it, JB. Bucks have outscored their Blast ones by 34 points before the Magic gave them a tighter game. 21-3 record for these Bucks. Pelicans lost by 46 at Dallas on Saturday. Then they stepped up again at home against Detroit. Ingram goes for 31, and Derrick Rose a couple of daggers. I mean, they were up 103-101 in that game before Rose's daggers. Pelicans are 11 for 70 from 3 over the last 2 games. You have to think that will change. But how do you handle the Bucks here as giant favorites? 13 or 13.5 point favorites with a total of 235. Take it away, Junior Brown.
Yeah, I've been cashing the entire season on Milwaukee first half, and this is something that they've been doing since last year. They just come out, especially at home, they just come out and just destroy teams in the first half. I'm going to keep riding that wave until someone proves that they can slow it down, because they're not just destroying teams with their offense, they're actually playing very good defense. And here's the real problem with the Pelicans. I personally believe that they've quit on Alvin Gentry. Alvin Gentry is a very surly coach, a no-nonsense guy, an NBA lifer, and this is an extremely young team. And more importantly than even the fact that they've quit on Alvin Gentry, they've just given up on defense. Like they were never playing defense since the beginning of the season, so that's obvious. But their offense has fallen off of a cliff right now. In their last 5 games, their offensive rating is like 99.8, I believe, which obviously, if you were to prorate that over a course of a full season, well, if you want to know how bad 99.8 is, the Knicks' offensive rating is 102.7. So if you can't score and you can't stop anybody from scoring, you don't really need to be too smart to figure out that you're not going to beat a team that's smacking guys up by 40 points for fun. The Milwaukee Bucks aren't just beating teams. They're demoralizing teams, and that includes the Clippers. Like that Clippers game, they only won by 20-something. They were up like 40 real early in that game. How are the Pelicans going to slow these guys down? I mean, I'm just jumping on this Bucks train while it's there to be had. I took Bucks first half -7.5 in this spot.
Bucks first half. I get why you would make that move. Bucks first half.
And by the way, if the Bucks don't cover in the first half, I'm doubling down on the second half. I mean, they're going to destroy these guys.
It makes perfect sense, and I was saying the same thing on Monday that they want Gentry fired. At least that's what they're showing us on the court. Bucks
but here's the problem, Jimmy.
Yeah.
The Pelicans front office have said that his job is safe, so he's not going anywhere. So I don't really know what that's about. I mean, the Pelicans have shown over the last couple of years that they're not the most competent front office, even though they've made some changes over the summer. But this is not good. It's not good at all. It's not good at all.
Dog Bry also says, "Give me the 7 in the hook tonight with the Pelican." Wow, with the Pelicans. God, I was reading that wrong. Great stuff, Junior Browne. Follow this man on Twitter as well. Watch his show, Jammin' with J Money, Monday through Saturday. It is a spectacular show at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it follows this show right here. Follow him on Twitter. His handle at JRBrowne21, and that's a Brown with an E. JRBROWNE 21. Follow him on Twitter. Could you quickly recap your official plays? And thank you so much for joining us, my friend.
Absolutely, sir. I've got Bucks first half -7.5, Lakers full game -7, and the under 210.5 in Boston, Indiana.
There it is. Junior Browne, have a great show today. I will be watching, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, boss. And anytime you want, I'll be here. Just give me a shout. Good luck to all the low baggers tonight. Let's cash some tickets.
That Bucks first half does feel like it should be a play here. My only tiny concern, and it's not that big of a concern, is that the Pelicans have shot 11 for 70. You have to think that they start shooting better. Let's bring in our guy Teddy Covers onto the show, coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, Jimmy. Split out last night. No harm, no foul. Kiss your sister. We'll take those. Wasn't as good as we hoped. We didn't be able to come on the show and go, yeah, we swept today. But no harm, no foul, and a whole new day today, my friend. How about yourself?
We had a big night in NHL. Real easy capping spots with Marc-Andre Fleury in his first game after the death of his father. And the Knights coming off 5-0 loss. Of course, they were going to smash the Blackhawks in the mouth. And then very easy cap with the Kings at home, the youngest team in the league with the Rangers, coming off a 5-0 win in Vegas. They go from Vegas to LA, the youngest team in the NHL. Just fade them with a terrible King squad, and that worked out well for us. So we had a nice night in NHL. We're feeling good about ourselves in NHL, but I stayed off NBA, and we still have 2 more games that I need help capping. And we have questions that have come in for national or for NCAA basketball that's come in. Have you made any moves on this NBA card?
So I only made one move in NBA and college. I didn't make any in college. So for the entire basketball card today, I made one play. so far, but I like it for what it's worth. I took OKC, the Thunder, plus the points at Sacramento. If that's one of the games that you wanted to talk about, I'm not sure. It's near the end of the card.
It's perfect. That's the exact next game I wanted to talk about. Let's break it down right now. Sacramento opening up at -1.5, which is where they stand. This total opened up at 210. Now between 208 and 209, depending on where you shop. This Thunder team playing good basketball, 11-12 overall, 4-7 on the road. Pace last 5, second to last in the NBA at 29th. Kings pace last 5, 23rd, and that's why this total is where it stands, and that's why it's dropped from 210.5. Dennis Schroeder stepping up for this Thunder team and playing selfless basketball. Gilgeous-Alexander, these guys, it seems like they like playing with each other. And I can imagine after years of watching Russell Westbrook do whatever he pleases and clank, clank, clank with the triple-double, I'm the MVP, and now having a guy who, at least with Chris Paul, you know he's going to distribute the ball. They're hoping to get Daniel Gallinari back, and Turf Ferguson's still out with the hip injury. Sacramento looking for its third straight win. That was a big win over the Rockets, and I'm looking forward to hear your angle, but I sense that I know where it's coming from, but I'll just let you lay into it. Buddy Hield playing good basketball, and the two spots. So my guess is that you expect Marvin Bagley to be back in the lineup to disrupt rhythm, and the Kings feeling good about themselves against the Rockets. Take it away. I'd love to hear this angle. Why are you back in the Thunder here, Teddy Covers?
I mean, Jimmy, you know why. You don't need to ask. See, that's the beauty. When you work together for a couple of months, you know my answer for why I like OKC against Sacramento. Exactly. We have Bagley coming back tonight against a team that has been in pretty good offensive rhythm of late, particularly during crunch time. That, for game one, does not help Sacramento. It's Sacramento returning home off a pretty darn good road trip. You know, you beat Dallas, then you beat Houston to close it out. That's what they want. Obviously, their goal and the way they did it, a pair of tight games, a buzzer beater in Houston. I'm not anticipating full focus for Sacramento tonight. And it's an OKC team. Coming into the season, I don't know there was a team in the NBA that I had less of a read on. I was like, what are the Thunder going to be like this year? I really couldn't get a sense of it. And now, 20-something games into the season, I get a sense of what OKC is going to be. And it's a team that there's been no adjustment when Steven Adams is in or out of the lineup. He's been banged up. They're a much better team with him in, certainly in the low post, their rebounding ability, et cetera, et cetera. And they're winning games on the road. Remember, they started out the season, they couldn't close it out on the highway. I think they lost their first 5 or 6 road games. Of late, they win straight up at Golden State. They win straight up at New Orleans. They win straight up at Portland. They win straight up at Utah. Yeah, I trust this team to win on the road. OKC right now is a better squad, and tonight it's a better spot for the Thunder. So taking points to me was a no-brainer. And twos are popping up. As the Bagley information comes out, and people are like, Bagley is going to play. That number's going up, not down. So you can find a 2 and put it in your pocket right now.
Interesting spot here. I'm looking forward to watch this late night game. Elliot V saying Steven Adams will get a double tonight. I'm curious to see what the plus line on that would be. And then the final game on this card, Knicks Warriors. We need to talk about Warriors opening up at 5.5. Now 5s across the board. This total opened up at 210.5 and now 211. We cashed on the Warriors under the last time they played. Their pace last 5, 26th in the NBA. Knicks pace last 5, 15th in the NBA. Mike Miller looked good in the debut, almost beating the Pacers, and then they come crashing back to earth against Portland last night. First road gig for Mike Miller as coach of the Knicks, and they get destroyed 115-87. But he gave all 13 of his guys run. Nobody played over 27 minutes. The Knicks have lost 10 straight. This will be the Knicks' third game in 5 days traveling across the coast. Warriors looking to avoid a 0 for homestand, just 2 games. They were beaten 110-102 at home by the Grizzlies on Monday night. That came after beating the Bulls on Friday night 198. Knicks Warriors, do you see any possible angles, side or total in this spot, Teddy?
So I wouldn't talk anyone out of an underplay in this ballgame. We talked about the pace of these two teams and how slow it's been of late, particularly for Golden State. I'm not convinced that changes tonight. The Knicks on the second half of back-to-backs, even though they didn't play their starters major minutes last night, or anybody major minutes last night, they got blown out pretty early in that one. It's not like the Knicks are primed to push the pace here. So I certainly wouldn't talk anyone out of an underplay in this one. Steve Kerr's quotes were interesting. I took a flyer on Golden State on Monday saying, hey, maybe there's a buy sign on this team. I thought the game against the Bulls where they had Draymond Green healthy and D'Angelo Russell healthy and Kevin Looney healthy and showed a will to win that might carry over. And then they came out against Memphis and returning home off the road trip, and they were flat as a pancake and played pretty lousy basketball. And Steve Kerr's quotes were a little bit more aggressive than we've seen from him following previous Golden State losses. He's like, hey, I thought we had some momentum. I thought we found something. And then we came out and played like, you know what? We didn't bring it. So I would not be surprised at all to see Golden State come with effort and energy tonight. I got burned with them laying points on Monday. And, of course, it's a Warriors team that for this season, the next point spread they cover as a favorite will be the first point spread they cover as a favorite. I believe they've lost them all in straight-up fashion. So it's not like Golden State's been an easy team to lay points with. But if I had to play it, I would look at Warriors and under tonight. I would not be surprised at all to see Golden State bounce back strong off a subpar showing in their last outing. And the Knicks, you're taking a leap of faith every time you take the Knicks. It's very hard to make money. So both these teams are bottom feeders. At the end of the year, the Knicks are still going to be bottom feeders. At the end of the year, the Warriors are going to be playing for a championship next year. You understand? There's a different mentality in that regard. Even though Golden State's a bottom feeder, there's hope in a way that there isn't hope for the Knicks with that franchise moving forward. And I think that affects how they're going to look at this season in the entirety. So lean Warriors, lean under. Didn't play either one.
Yeah, I agree with both those leans, but I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. What do you think about pulling the trigger on the Bucks first half here? Is there any fear fading a team like the Pelicans because they've shot 11 for 70 the last two games that they'll wake up from three at some point? Or do you think the Bucks just run over them first half? I mean, they ran over the Magic first half, and then the Magic came back to cover. What do you think of the Bucks first half here, Teddy?
I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it. It's not a bet that I'm going to make. And that Pelicans, they roll the dice 3-point shooting wise and they're finished, in the 15% range over the last two contests. And that's not what New Orleans is going to do, even against Milwaukee's elite perimeter defense. Total in that game's interesting. And it's funny because we think of Milwaukee's offense as being ridiculous. And in terms of officially the best offense in the NBA. We know that New Orleans defense is bottom tier. But it's the other end of the spectrum that I'm worried about for over players. It is because Pelicans are going under of late because they're not scoring. And Milwaukee's defense is every bit as good as their offense. Bucks first half makes sense. And Bucks full game makes sense. And all that said, it has the feel, it could well be like an Orlando game where Milwaukee is in control throughout and then they don't end up covering the big number because the number is a little bit too high. That is a concern here on the Milwaukee side, potentially this evening.
David Stewart says, I bet the under in the Bucks game. I don't trust the Pelicans offense. All right. Quickly, before we go in NCAA basketball and touch on some more bowl games, giant game in Toronto this evening. Kawhi Leonard getting his championship ring. Do you have any lean in this spot? I did pull the trigger on the Clippers -2.5. I don't like what I've been seeing from the Raptors, and Kawhi is all business when he gets on the floor. I did pull the trigger on the Clippers -2.5. What do you think of this spot, Clippers Raptors?
I would only take the Clippers in this ball game. I would only take Kawhi in his return to Toronto. And I know everyone's going to be jacked in the Raptors uniform to see their old championship buddy. And that's kept me off the game. You understand? Because Toronto, whatever Toronto has, they're going to fire away at the Clips tonight. And Toronto has, certainly defensively, their A game is very good. And maybe you look at an under in this game as a result, because the Clips certainly a strong defensive team. And the other thing about Toronto has the bench depth to match. There are a lot of teams where the Clippers bench just runs them out of the gym. That's not the case with the Raptors. They have the bench depth to hang with LA. And this feels like a tight game. I do think the Clips are the better of the two teams, and I do think that Kawhi brings something to Toronto tonight. So I wouldn't talk you out of the Clips side, but I'm afraid of the Raptors A game a little bit. Lean under more than side in this one.
Lean under more than side. Tommy Bolt, welcome back. We will ask Teddy that question, but first, while we're on the NBA, another very exciting game here. Dante Anderson wanting to know what your feel is on this Celtics-Pacers spot. Pacers open up at -1. Now the Celtics are -1. Big game for the Eastern Conference. What do you think of this Celtics-Pacers?
And I graded it as a pick'em. That was my line for the game. I'm not in any rush to step in front of Boston in a game where a win equals a cover. The Celtics are playing good ball right now, and their big three are playing like a big three with Browne, Tatum, and Walker. Kemba's been really good for Boston. So I'm in no rush to step in front of the Celtics. I'm really not. I have the same thought process about the Pacers. Indiana's been a real moneymaker. They got off to a slow start. They've been a much better team since. They're coming off the loss where Boston's coming off the win. It's the type of game that has all the makings of a tight, down-to-the-wire affair. Someone's going to win this by a bucket or two at the end, and the point spread's right where it should be in my mind. So not a game I'm going to play. Not a game you're going to play. It is a tricky one. I did, though, pull the trigger on the under on this game. This under opened up at 209.5, and it's sitting there right now. It did go up to 210.5. Pinnacle's brought it down to 210. What do you think of the under in this spot? I don't have a strong feel for it, Jimmy. I really don't. I wouldn't talk you out of it, and I wouldn't talk you onto it. In terms of, pace-wise, look, these are two solid defensive teams, but they're also two teams that attack the basket and get to the free throw line. So when you talk about Indiana and Boston, it's not always pace, it's also the execution on offense. And their ability to shoot foul shots that matter, because both teams, take it to the hole on the reg. I just don't have a strong take on the total, Jimmy. I don't want to give you BS. It's a pass for me. All right, well, let's move over to college basketball now, and the marquee game on the platter is fifth-ranked Michigan going into Illinois. Michigan opening up at -1. Now they're at +1.5. We have questions coming in, but let's talk about this spot on the card first, Teddy. What are you feeling about Michigan, Illinois? So my initial reaction was to look at Illinois +1. Woke up this morning, and the Illinois +1 was now Illinois -1.5. And I was a little bit disappointed in that. More than, I was disappointed in that. I was looking to take Illinois plus. And I still wouldn't talk anyone out of taking Illinois. But now it's not plus, it's minus. The Illini, I think, match up fairly well with the Wolverines. I was reading a couple articles this morning talking about Illinois' low post play. And, they've been winning the rebounding battle. They've got a young center who's playing really well. And, from a matchup standpoint, 5-on-5, Illinois can hang with Michigan. They can beat Michigan. My concern, the Wolverines, their one previous true road game at Louisville, and they couldn't move the ball. The offense was stuck in the mud throughout that contest. And I think the way to look for Michigan is when they face the really good defensive teams, particularly on the road, they're going to be a bet against squad. Illinois is not one of those teams. For the Illini to win, the Illini got to score, and that's their game plan, is to outscore teams, not to outdefend teams. So I really talked myself out of the Illinois play, and the markets have moved, in the wrong direction for me to play Illinois right now. So at this current point spread, it's a clear pass for me. I'm not switching sides. I'm not doing anything with the game. Illini is a dog, maybe. Illini is a favorite, not so much. Lean over. Tommy Bolt says students are busy with studying for finals this week at Illinois. Student section might be quiet. Were there any games on this NCAA card that caught your attention that you almost made a move on? Yeah, there was. I was looking at the Fresno Cal game. That was one that stood out to me as well, and I wanted to make a move against Cal, and just the point spread wasn't right to lay with Fresno. I couldn't get there with Fresno. I tried. It's like the Utah-Minnesota game. I'm like, Utah. I'm like, all right, I really want to fade the Jazz every single game, and I'm going to fade the Jazz every single game. What happened again today? Not getting the window, fading the Jazz because they're playing a team that I want no part of in Minnesota. This was kind of that. I'm like, I really want to fade Cal. I want to fade Cal at home. And the more I looked at Fresno, the less I was excited about, laying points with Fresno on the road. So it's not a game that I got involved with when all was said and done. That was one that I gave a pretty good look this morning. And then really those two were the only two games that I gave serious consideration to. And I didn't pull the trigger on either one.
And we will break down each and every single one of those college basketball games on our late show. Well, why don't we move over to college football now? We've had questions coming in for you. Tommy Bolt has been gone this week, so he's joining us for the first time, and he's wondering if you have thought about making a move on this Army-Navy game. We know that Noli Knows is on the under. We talked about that yesterday, and historically, if you look back, I mean, these games have been low scoring. This is a low scoring total, or low total at 40. It opened up at 40.5. It's now there. It's still there. But, it opened up at 43 at 5 dimes. Let me move over back to Pinnacle openers. So the 5 dimes opened it up at 43. I did not know that. Let's see what Pinnacle opened it up at very quickly here. Pinnacle opened it up at 41. So Pinnacle now is at 40.5. Navy opening up at minus 10.5 at Pinnacle. That's where it stands right now. Are you any closer to making a move, Army, Navy? Do you have any leans in this spot?
I do, and that surprises me because I never play this game. But this year, we might. So let's start with the fact that this series has now gone, I believe it's 13 straight years it's gone under the total. All right. They play every year. Every year it goes under. You look at the recent meetings, 17-10, 14-13, 21-17, 21-17, 17-10, 34-7, 17-13. I mean, now note the 34-7 stayed under, and 34-7 here would not stay under. But it's not like either one of these two offenses has been able to move the football against an opponent that knows everything they want to do. Army's won the last 3 years. All right, Navy's in triple revenge. Navy's got the way better record than Army. A lot of points in a series that doesn't have any blowouts, where Army's record is much worse than Navy's, not because Army's much worse than Navy, because they lost a bunch of close games. I have absolute interest in looking at Army plus the points in this one. Triple revenge, great. Do it in blowout fashion. I'm not buying it. I think the Cadets can hang. And the lean here is Army. Haven't pulled the trigger yet because the money's coming on Navy. It was all 10s, and now I'm looking at 10.5s. I'm seeing 11s here in Vegas. Dog or pass for me. Under, I can understand you wanting to ride the trend when we're talking about a total of 40. You can ride it. I'm not going to ride it this week. I'm not playing that under. It's just too low.
It is low under. Interesting. Dog or pass coming in. The next question comes in from our Ryan Kozlowski. Ryan Kozlowski in the house, wanting to know what your feeling is on this North Carolina Temple spot. Let me go do spreads and totals here. Sportsbookreview.com, the best odds page on the planet. Here we go. North Carolina opening up at minus 6.5. Now Pinnacle's moved it to 5.5, but at plus money. There's 5s on the board. There's a 5 at 5 dimes. There's a 5 at Bet365. Heritage just moved to 5 while we're speaking, but there's still 6s at BetOnline and Intertops and Bovada. This total at 52.5. We see 53s on the board now. North Carolina Temple. Teddy, take it away.
And look, when we talk about the SBR odds page, we say, oh, it's the best odds page in the business. You should have it up all day. That's not BS, okay? You want to have that odds page open on your, I don't know how many screens you have, whatever. You want a screen that has that odds page open all day long, all right? And that way hey, I'm thinking about this. All right, do I got to pull the trigger here right now or not? Because those decisions will come throughout the course of the day. And it gives you one chance to say, you don't have to go, oh, I missed the number. Oh, gives you a chance to say, all right, I can catch it right now or I can miss it. And that'll be my choice as opposed to it just happening. So that SBR Live odds page is a must bookmark, must have open, et cetera, et cetera. You guys know the drill. In terms of my lean towards this game, my initial lean is absolutely towards Temple plus the points. The Owls, again, they're one of these teams where their statistical profile got warped because they had 2 games in the middle of the season where they had that 3-game stretch. They played the 3 best offense in the conference. The first one they won, then they went on the road and got blasted, and then got blasted again the next week. And those 2 losses skewed their entire statistical profile. So when everyone's looking now, and everyone's forgotten, what happened in the regular season, by the time these games come out, no one remembers anything that happens in the regular season. They go, well, look at what their stats were for the year. Well, no, they're misleading stats. Temple was better than that. They were certainly better than that on defense, and their red zone defense really stood out to me. And North Carolina is the ultimate, every game's decided by a field goal contest. Lean Temple plus, and I expect to get to the window with them.
And that 6 that was available at BetOnline has moved to a 5. So it's now -5. Wow. People listening. All right, let's talk about some of these games that we haven't fully broken down. Why don't we go Washington State, Air Force. Air Force at -2.5. That's where it stands right now. There's a 3 at Bovada. This total at 67. High total, but we know why with Wazoo. Washington State, Air Force. Take it away, Teddy.
So it might be an impossible game. It really might. All right. I would expect Air Force is going to have success running the football all day long against the Cougs. And when we look at the Service Academy teams in bowl season, they're one-way teams. You bet on them or you don't play the game. And that's a long-term track record, and it's extraordinary. Better than 70% long-term Service Academies in the bowl games because they come to play. So we can count on that, and I'm not convinced that Washington State's going to be able to stop them. At the same time, in theory, Wazoo's supposed to be able to throw the football all over the field against Air Force. Air Force doesn't have the cornerbacks to cover 5 deep. It's a tough matchup for the Falcons. It really is, and it will severely test their depth in the secondary, which isn't great. So I think Air Force is going to get theirs. I think Washington State's going to get theirs. So you say, all right, play the over. Yeah. The problem is that Air Force is going to slow the game down. They're going to have 6, 7, 8-minute possessions. And you get an 8-minute possession with a field goal, they go for it on 4th down and get stuffed, and all of a sudden with the total in this range, it's no longer an easy cash. One red zone turnover, and you're really up against it in a game with long drives like this. So, sidewise, this game feels like a pick-em to me. Total-wise, you think both offenses are going to score, but you think the pace is going to be slow. And if I'm Air Force, my defensive game plan is entirely just, they're going to complete passes, keep everything in front of you. Don't give up the big play touchdown. That plays to the under. Even in a game where we think both, there's not going to be a whole lot of punts in this one. Hard game. I doubt I play it.
Questions coming in, so I'm going to start firing them at you. Nicholas Fogg, how does Teddy handle the new trend of these top prospects who sit out bowl games?
Case-by-case basis. There's no overall way to look at it. And a lot of times it's much ado about nothing. The markets might make a significant adjustment. The guy who's sitting behind the guy who's going to the NFL usually have some talent too, and oftentimes have something to prove. So in general, the markets, I think, over-adjust to some of this stuff. But each one is a case-by-case basis, and you can't I don't try to overanalyze it and overthink it. If I like Team A against Team B, and then I find out from that there's somebody from Team A that's missing that's going to sit out the game, I'm probably still going to like Team A against Team B, unless I get the sense that the whole team is, oh my God, we're missing our guy. I wouldn't overreact to some of this info. Again, the media needs stories every day. Bettors have to be able to sift between what's meaningful info and what's less meaningful info. And sometimes these guys sitting out is less meaningful. The guys who are sitting out aren't necessarily the team guys. You know what I mean? So for whatever that's worth.
We have Zombie Pie in our chat. Zombie Pie and the Felt Bandit, a couple that caps together. We know those that cap together stay together, and they're taking a run at our at our favorite couple in the chat that cap together, that being Tata Booker and Lucky Lefty. Zombie Pie says, what about Hawaii versus the Latter-day Saints? Brigham Young, Hawaii. Brigham Young opening up at -2.5, now -1.5 at Pinnacle and Bookmaker, 2 and Intertops, 2s everywhere else, and this total at 62, 62.5, or 63. Brigham Young, Hawaii, Teddy.
This is a bad matchup for Hawaii. And we know how good Hawaii's been on their home field, and we know how good they've been in bowl games on their home field. I don't know that this is, I don't think it's a good matchup for them. Let me tell you why. BYU is a team that's not likely to get distracted in the islands the way some teams would. In terms of travel, I look at BYU much more like a service academy team than I do like a team that's really excited to be playing a game in beach weather. So I think BYU's focus will be there. BYU's strength is the fact that they got all these kids that go on missions and then come back, and they're 22, 23, 24 years old, and they make BYU bigger and more physical than a lot of the teams that they face. And boy, that's something that Hawaii is vulnerable to. You look in the trenches here on both sides of the line of scrimmage. BYU has legitimate edges on defense and on offense at the line of scrimmage. And when we talk about Hawaii and their receiving core, what Hawaii's recruiting plan has been this whole way. We get the guys who have the Pac-12 speed, but not the Pac-12 size. The guys that aren't getting the opportunities to play for Cal or USC or Colorado or whoever. They're a little bit undersized, but they're still fast. BYU has secondary depth. I've seen them hang tough against some pretty good receiving cores this year. I'm not convinced that's a matchup Hawaii's going to win. So I do think BYU deserves to be the chalk here. And if I'm going to play in the Hawaii Bowl, it would probably be on the BYU side.
Probably backing BYU. Big Lou loving the Caps tonight. I might make a move on the Caps. I might make a move on the Flyers as well. I need a little bit more time with this small NHL card. The next question comes from Paul Costa. Says, Jimmy, ask Teddy about Bama -7 against his Wolverines. I'm interested in your breakdown here as well. What do you think of this spot?
I think Bama's going to kill him. Don't you? I mean, I'm worried about Alabama's focus for the Camping World Bowl in Orlando after playing for a national title every year. I do worry about that. And I'm going to see if I get a sense of, in the week leading up to the game that Alabama's as focused as they should be. But Michigan's not built to beat teams like Alabama. Harbaugh can't beat Ohio State. Not because Michigan's not good. Michigan's very good. But the true upper echelon elite offenses, Michigan's defense isn't good enough. And there aren't many defenses that are good enough to stop Alabama. If Alabama comes to play, they'll kill them. I don't think it'll be another. We get to rip. Everyone rips on Harbaugh some more. Michigan is what they are. They're a top 20 program. They're not a top 5 program right now. So as long as I have info that Alabama's interested, and not just interested, talk. Focused on the task at hand when they get to Orlando. If I got info there, I'll pull the trigger on the Crimson Tide. I don't know where I would look. I don't want the Wolverines in this one.
And we'll close shop on today's action with Ryan Kozlowski saying he was talking about the Temple spot. He also wants to know what you think of this total in Clemson, Ohio State. He's thinking of trying to sneak over this total that is let me grab the exact number right now. I'm expecting it to
63-ish, 63 and a half.
Yeah, 63 or 63 and a half. You think that we can get over this total?
I have no strong opinion on the total right now. I'm a believer in Clemson's defense, and yet I'm also a believer in Ohio State. Gosh, I don't have a strong take on the total. I really don't. I'm definitely leaning towards the Buckeyes plus the points, but I'm in no rush to bet it. The early money's come towards Clemson in that one. But total-wise, I can picture Ohio State being successful in a higher scoring game, and I can picture it being a defensive scrum and the Buckeyes being able to shut down Clemson offensively, at least somewhat. No strong take.
Well, we have a lot of time to break down these games. The first, I guess we have Saturday with Army, Navy. But then the bowl games start on Friday, December 23rd. 20th, and we already heard Teddy taking Buffalo and beating that market move. Opened at 4.5, now 6.5. There's still a 6 at Intertops. Follow this man on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. Teddy, thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. Teddy taking the Oklahoma City Thunder this evening as an official pick. Teddy, my friend, thank you for sharing your hard work and insights with us. You can catch Teddy every morning here, Monday to Friday. Teddy, let's have a big day, my friend.
I don't want a big day. I just want one winner. I'll take it. You guys have a big day out there in Lowbag Land. I hope you guys kill it tonight. We'll talk again tomorrow. Thanks, Jimmy.
Love it. There he is, Teddy Covers. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Teddy Covers in the house. All right, let's review some of the plays of the day. And Prince of the City, much love to you. Yes, we will have Maxwell Smart breaking down each and every game on this card. And Dewey Finn liking Yale -2 first half. Okay, let's talk about these looks. Noli knows Jimmy the Bag exclusive. He's calling it Jimmy exclusive. Arkansas State, Missouri State under 132.5. I find that very interesting. I'm taking a look at that. Lamont Williams, max betting Dartmouth solo over. The taint play of the day is Michigan at a pick'em. Michigan at a pick'em, and Triple K Marine is taking Michigan -6.5 at +240. +240. Matt Randall also on Houston -12.5, and the the University of Michigan, Illinois over 142.5. And that was something Teddy talked about as well. And that market's moved towards the over. It's now a 144.5 for me. I have made a couple moves, and one I'm getting cold feet on and may wait on betting it and may try and middle out of it. I'm also interested in the over Grizzlies Suns that I haven't made a move on. I still didn't make a move on that Milwaukee first half. I've made no moves in NHL. You know that there will be moves that will be made. The Hornets +10. Third game in 4 nights. Now going on the road. I like that I got the +10 here for show purposes, but I may try and middle it if money does come in on the Hornets. I'm not going to go bet it. It's what I'm saying. I think I might have jumped the shark there. Maybe need a little bit more time. And Dan Kelly kind of coming in and warning me. I am on the under 210 -102. The 210 -102 in the Celtics Pacers. And I'm on the Clippers -2.5, and I like that spot quite a bit. We've heard that Vucevic is out of the lineup, and let me see what's going on with that Lakers spot. I've got a lot of work to do on this card. It's funny because I did a lot of work on this card, but man, I guess you can never stop. Let's take a look at what the Lakers have gone to 8 and 8.5 now with the Vucevic information. Okay, I've got a lot of work to do. Rod Zawacki, Birdcage, Washington 3-way, Ottawa 3-way, Clippers moneyline plus 1,300. For our Rod Zawacki. Rod Zawacki did some great work yesterday with the Habs, taking the Montreal Canadiens and the under in that spot. I was on the under as well, which cashed easily, but I didn't have the Habs. Great stuff there. All right, we've got a lot of work to do. So we're going to have a big late show here with Maxwell Smart joining us, but I got a lot of work to do on this card. There will be moves made in 27 minutes. Stay right here. Jamming with J Money, starring the aforementioned J Money, as well as Junior Browne and Jordan Sharp. Stick with it. Stay with it. I have no show without these great cappers. Shout out to you guys. Elliot V, Schaff, Omar J, Legend, Rod Zawacki, Ziggy, Raven in the Desert, David, Tobin, Steve Overlay, Brant, Hunt, Dewey, Finn, Big Ragu, and I will be live with the Big Ragu here. Big Ragu, Big Boss, myself, 7 o'clock tonight. Brought in a little Florida Cognac. Gonna have a couple beverages with my guys, and I've locked in a ton of plays in NFL. I love this card in NFL. Shout out to Prince of the City, Ronnie Durante, Big Lou, Lance LaRose, Noli Knows, Guru, Sports Bets. Nice to see Guru back in the chat. Missed him. What a great group. Matt Randall, Paul Taylor, the Sailor, Zombie Pie, Norm L, all you guys, Nicholas Fogg, Trey Hicks, Jared LeMay. I've got nothing without you guys. Thank you for being here, sharing your insights, sharing your humor, sharing your action. But most importantly, let's get after this shit. Leche, Halos Bookmakers!